Breathe the free air again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel Football Therapy with me, your host Jan, here in the Stamford Bridge studio to bring you Chelsea news, of which, of course, there will be a lot coming to your ears and eyes throughout this summer period as Chelsea look to rejuvenate their fortunes with the new manager Mauricio Pochettino, with hopefully a squad that has had all the fat trimmed off it, one can only hope, and indeed bringing in a couple of suitable or, well, problem positions, getting a couple of problem positions filled, which we will discuss in today's video. Two, in fact, central midfielder and potentially striker. Of course, we are looking for a goalkeeper as well, and a few things to take note from yesterday as well. So I thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy the content. If you do, feel free to click like on the video. You're welcome to subscribe to this channel too, of course. And should you choose to do so, hit the bell. Alright then, before we talk about positive movements in the transfer window, I'm just going to read a segment of Liam Twomey's article from The Athletic, speaking about a few players and what happened at the end of Chelsea's final game in the Premier League, of course, drawing to Newcastle. First of all, Thiago Silva bookmarked another age-defying performance, holding a disconnected back four together with cheers as he received the club's Player of the Year award from Lampard prior to kickoff, and then returned the love coming from his way to the stand. He loves the Chelsea fans, Thiago Silva. The Chelsea fans love Thiago Silva as well. Back. Did I say that right? I feel like I didn't. Once the stadium had emptied, he could be seen talking to Chelsea owners, Clear Lake Capital co-founders, Badad Eghbali and Jose Feliciano. Of course, they're on the pitch speaking to Thiago Silva, knowing that, well, we know that Thiago Silva is a huge part of the next season. Even if he doesn't play that much more, he's come out and stated that he understands he's important for this transition. He loves Chelsea, his family loves Chelsea, his family loves London. If you follow his wife, Belle Silva, she loves going to Chelsea games and watching Thiago. She would have loved to see him win the Player of the Year award, and they are very much here to help Chelsea through this transition with a knowing connection to the spirit of the club, the fans, as well as a sort of standard-setting professionalism. Of course, Ruben Loftus-Cheek said his goodbyes when he was substituted, giving the captain a hug, giving the gaffer a hug, spinning around, applauding the fans. That is the most clear-cut goodbye you will see. I think he's probably off to Milan. Mason Mount was an interesting one. He appeared to be emotional and down. Of course, there was multiple reports about him looking a bit down. I don't know about this one hair sticking up, but we're just going to have to get on with it, ladies and gentlemen. And at the end, Nizar Kinsella, of course, the Evening Standard, filmed him reappearing by himself once the stadium had emptied, just looking emotional, looking around, taking it in Stamford Bridge. And it's with a heavy heart I watched that, man, because it really did look like the end for Mason Mount, or at least preparing himself for the end. Impending free agent N'Golo Kante was an easy miss as he moved with an understated smile from his seat behind the home dugout to the pitch at full time, where he disappeared among his taller teammates and then back down the tunnel with a couple of small shy waves, as he does. I believe a fan shouted at him, like, "See you next season." He was like, well, maybe. Of course, a lot is going to depend on these crucial days ahead of us, because there'll be talks with Mauricio Pochettino, of course, who signed a 3-year deal. Lampard was very, very interesting in his post-match. I watched this, of course, after I did my post-match press, as I often do, because I want to get the reaction out as quick as possible. Very telling. Here's some quotes from him. He says, standards have collectively dropped. I can be honest, because this is my last game and I might not see much of them anymore. Basically saying, look, it's just the end, and I can be honest with you. The standards collectively at a club like Chelsea have to be at the maximum, or you won't physically be competitive enough, or you won't be able to play at the high level, at the high speed that the Premier League demands. If you're not together in the dressing room, vocal in driving each other, I want your place and you want mine, any top team has to have that. When I came in, very quickly I could see it wasn't there. A new manager would help with that, but everyone taking responsibility collectively, players and club alike, I'm so pleased he said that. And he also said, like, he arrived in the dead quiet dressing room. It was just dead. The club's dead from inside, like, rotten from, inside out, like a plant or a tree where you don't know why it's flourishing, and you find out there's rot in the trunk. Weird analogy, but it kind of works. There was rot in the dressing room, and that needs to be dealt with in the summer. Clear out. He went on to talk about players that don't want to be at Chelsea and are at Chelsea, and players that the club don't want them to be at Chelsea, which is a different but equally as difficult thing to navigate. And it's all there, and I'm pleased he gave that press conference, because for Chelsea fans it's actually a bit of a gift to us to say, look, this is what's happening. This is a large contributor to what's been going on this season, and it's almost like the fans deserve to know, and he told us. So thank you for that, Frank. Let's move on. So Chelsea are going to need to buy players. We're not going to talk about goalkeepers today, but we know the situation. Edouard Mendy is likely to go, and Kepa, probably, if we could sell them both, we would. I think Mendy would be easy to flog because, Champions League starting goalkeeper winner, same with AFCON. We easily will get our money back, I think, on Mendy. I think we paid about, 24 million or something? I think we'll get that back for him. Kepa's difficult. It's not just making a bit of money back on him, which would be helpful, but it's also someone who's going to absorb his high wages. I think signing a new long-term deal, he'd be willing to take lesser wages and becoming a starting goalkeeper to, reignite his career, get back in the Spain squad, etc. We'll have to see what happens there. But of course, in the meantime, Chelsea are looking at strikers and defensive midfielders. Now, Chelsea have reportedly agreed terms with Manuel Ugarte, the 22-year-old central defensive midfielder playing in Liga NOS for Sporting. We reported here, or reacted to the reports here on the channel, that Chelsea had, as well as Paris Saint-Germain, agreed to trigger the buyout clause, or the figure of the buyout clause, for the young Uruguayan defensive midfielder. But it's whether we could have convinced the player. Let's read this article from Court Offside. Chelsea are said to have agreed personal terms with Manuel Ugarte and his agent as they edge closer to bringing in a much needed defensive midfielder. Chelsea's desperation for a player who profiles as a number 6 has been well documented for some time now, and in the past, they, along with Paris Saint-Germain, have been heavily linked with a move for Ugarte, who's enjoyed a solid breakthrough season at Sporting Lisbon this year. Fabrizio Romano reported earlier this morning, this is, I think yesterday maybe, Chelsea manager Pochettino has personally asked for the Blues hierarchy to bring Ugarte in this summer to fill in a much-needed position at Stamford Bridge. And now, in the past half an hour, journalist Rob Prattley, who I used to see on Twitter, who's got good information, has followed up with a tweet that confirming that Chelsea have come to an agreement with the Uruguayan youngster and his agent, here he is, Jorge Mendes, on personal terms with all his the fee that's to sort out. Of course, we have a relationship as Chelsea with Jorge Mendes. Certainly Todd Boehly does. The first thing he did was have a meeting with him. Ugarte is said to have a release clause of £52 million, but Prattley understands the Blues are more inclined to pay for the 22-year-old in a different way, similar to that of the deal for Enzo Fernandez, of course structured in installments, so to help us in financial fair play. If we know one thing about Chelsea, Clearlake and Todd Boehly, this new ownership model, they look to manipulate and take advantage and find as many loopholes as possible for this rebuild and to navigate FFP, which is kind of good, really, because that's what you want. You want to get ahead, and you want your owners to be looking to get you ahead. If that's anything to go by, Chelsea fans should be fairly confident in their attempts to make Ugarte blue, where he would slot straight into the club's he'd go next to Enzo Fernandez. So, and obviously, two South Americans speaking to each other in the midfield, and certainly Mauricio Pochettino would like that. And on reflection, I would like that as well. So that is a really, really positive. It's the player, apparently he's had this flirtation, this desire to come to the Premier League. Obviously, PSG are a Champions League team. You'll win loads of French titles. But if you truly want to push yourself, and if you can get on the phone to Mauricio Pochettino and convince him, well, apparently he's been convinced that personal terms have been agreed. It's just convincing Sporting Lisbon to abide by our payment structure. Of course, if Ugarte says to his parent club, sell me to Chelsea, don't sell me to PSG, or I'm not going to go. When you've convinced the player, I think, and Chelsea are ultimately willing to pay the asking price, I personally feel like they will accept a payment structure, but you don't know till you know, do you? Anyway, let me know what you think about Ugarte, and let's move on. So we've discussed goalkeepers, midfielders, of course. By the way, I will follow any and all story developments and updates. If you're interested in getting that from myself, make sure you do turn on the bell when you subscribe, because there's going to be a lot of news over the summer. I will be making a lot of content over the summer, so make sure you sub. Give Me Sport is referencing a story from Rudy Galletti talking about Chelsea target Dusan Vlahovic. Of course, a Juventus striker that since Juventus have got that points deduction, they've gone from second place to out of the top four. That's right, they have not qualified for the Champions League, and they will not get that revenue, which a lot of people are speculating they will be more inclined to sell Vlahovic, the Serbian centre-forward. Back in January, CBS reporter Ben Jacobs told Give Me Sport Vlahovic to Chelsea is one to watch. Since then, ESPN has claimed that the West London club have made the 23-year-old their #1 target this summer and has already made a £70 million offer for him. Chelsea are in desperate need of a striker after struggling for goals this season. In 37... we scored 38 goals in 38 games, a goal a game, which is so poor for Chelsea. You know, I'd like us to be on about 2.2 goals per game, like true Chelsea. I know we'd never apart from maybe under Ancelotti, we're not like Galactico free scoring, 2.5 free goals per game, but 2 goals per game is good. But I'd like to get us cooking and get just over 2 goals per game on average, not 1 goal per game. So what has Rudy Galletti said about Dusan Vlahovic and Chelsea? Galletti said Chelsea could make a swoop for him and suggested that he would be open for a move to Stamford Bridge. He said this: the Blues could make a concrete move for the Serbian, especially because the next manager, Pochettino, considers Dusan the ideal striker for his tactical idea. What, is that right? I mean, do we just believe that as gospel? The player likes the destination, and reaching agreement on personal terms wouldn't be a problem. Let's also keep an eye on Bayern Munich, and they also have Vlahovic on the top of their list of Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane will go to Manchester United because he's so close to the scoring record in the Prem, so I don't think he'll go to Bayern Munich. So Chelsea might be in a duel with Bayern for Vlahovic. So should Chelsea sign Vlahovic in this summer? Let's see. Well, he's definitely one striker they should be considering. Again, the Blues need to look for a new centre-forward, and Vlahovic is one of the best in Serie A, but we've been there. We've signed the best in Serie A before in Romelu Lukaku. We've signed Gonzalo Higuain, who absolutely ate Serie A alive, and that didn't go well. He's had some injury problems this season, but the Serbia international has still managed to score 14 goals in all competitions. I'll be honest, Vlahovic surprised me too, Juventus legend said. There are comparisons to be made with some top, like Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay, right, whatever. That's interesting. He is a good player, Dusan Vlahovic. He's shown glimpses this season of the player he can be. Is Mauricio Pochettino the one? Maybe. I know it's a boring and easy reference in comparison to me, but what he did with Harry Kane and how he sort of kickstarted his career was magnificent. I've gone on record praying that he does the same with Armando Broja. But, Dusan Vlahovic is a similar age, and those two young strikers, going neck and neck and being coached by, Mauricio Pochettino could be an opportunity there. So we'll have to see, and we'll keep our, options open, I suppose, but there's not that many options with striker. I'll be very keen to learn your thoughts, feelings, and opinions, so make sure you do leave them down in the comment section below. Of course, keep it locked, because there is so much popping off at the moment, and you guys want to keep up with it. You're welcome to do so here. All right, peace.